What is up? Wednesday, May 13th? Yeah, it sounds right. Confirmed. Saw it on the computer. Early week episode. You might be saying, oh, early week? Wednesday? What? I had a busy weekend. Sue me. Don't worry about it. This is the recap episode. I found a more fun way to do the recap for this week. We're going to go back because right now is the quarter season mark of the season. So I went back and I dug into my predictions from right before the season started, from episode 1. So if you want to be a stickler, go back to episode 1. I'm not lying about these. We're going to talk about 1, things I was wrong about. 2, things I was right about, because that's a lot more fun. And 3, what I think will change from either of those categories throughout the season. I was right about a good amount of stuff. I think I can learn from the things I was wrong about. But it's fun to get into this. I think the late week episode for this week is going to be diving into the, maybe top 10 prospects in the draft. I want to be really thorough on these guys, so I'm not going to just buzz through guys. I still have to dive into them. I kind of just started this week listening to other people's opinions on them, and that kind of gets the wheels turning and gives me my basic information I get about these guys. Sometime this week into this weekend, I'm going to dive in, actually watch video on the guys, find all the stats I can, and actually start to form my own opinions about them. And yeah, so the late episode this week is going to be 10 to 15 prospects. We'll dive into them. If you missed it, last weekend's episode, I believe it dropped on Saturday, was just basic level, how to get into the draft. If you missed that, make sure you watch it sometime before the draft. You got a couple months here, but I think that was a great base layer of, hey, if you know nothing about the draft, here you go. But let's get into this episode because this is fun. I like this. I think we're going to do about every quarter of the season. We'll do a little check-in on my predictions. I'll kind of maybe layer them. So this episode is another plot point of like where my opinion changed, because I'm going to be wrong about some things and they're going to layer if I just do them every quarter. So we'll get some plot points here as well, but it's mostly going to be my season-long predictions that happened at the beginning of the year. And we're going to start with things I was wrong about, because I'm humble and I don't lie when I get things wrong. And again, this is all so far, right? Quarter way through the season, things can change. So let's slow our roll, pump our brakes. Things I was wrong about, I can still be right about. Things I was right about, lock them in, send it in. We're good. I was right. Just kidding. All right. So the first thing, I was a little too low on the A's. I'm not sure I'm wrong about this in the long run, so maybe we'll talk about it later on things I don't think will stick throughout the season. But the thing I was really low on was the pitching. They're in first place in the standings in the AL West, which I was not expecting. Part of that is kind of how bad the Mariners have been, and bad for the Mariners. They've been underwhelming. They're still fine. It's really Cal Raleigh that's been bad. But I think the A's are just taking advantage of that. Again, their lineup is awesome. Shea Langeliers is awesome. Their pitching has been better than expected. I just don't expect that to last the whole season. So I'm still skeptical about the A's long term. And it's not even like I hated them. But I think this is a mixture of being a smidge too high on the Astros, even though I didn't love them, and being too low on the A's, which makes it look bad because I had them in, I believe, 4th place, and they're in first right now. So that's the first thing I was wrong about, A's being in first place. The second thing is possibly my biggest miss of the season so far, and I still have some hope. I was too high on the Royals. I had them as the second team in the AL at the end of the regular season. I loved them kind of at the beginning of the season. They've had a really slow start, but we're like a Royals hot stretch away from kind of nailing the AL Central. I had the White Sox being better than the Twins, which is kind of shaping up to be that, and we'll talk on that a little bit. I had the Tigers being a little underwhelming. I had people underrating the Guardians, which is happening. So I need the Royals to show up, and then we're kind of in business in this division in terms of my preseason predictions. The next thing I was wrong about. I was very wrong about the Rays and the Red Sox. If they were to switch places, I'd feel very good about my AL East predictions as well, but they're not. The Red Sox are in the cellar. They're already 10 games back of the Rays, which is the other side of this coin. I knew the Rays were going to be the Rays and be okay, but I just thought talent-wise they couldn't compete with anyone else in the division, and clearly I was wrong. They're 28-14. They have one of, if not the best record in baseball. The brand of baseball is interesting. It's not a lot of like hard hit, extra base hits. It's a lot of singles. It's a lot of getting on base and wreaking havoc on the base paths. They're just pitching. Nick Martinez is like the greatest one-year contract of all time. He's just shoving. McClanahan's back, and he looks great now. This team is Junior Caminero and friends, and they're doing it right now. Again, this is another thing that I don't know sustains. I certainly don't think they're like the best team in baseball. But is this a playoff team? Maybe. I could see it now. I still wouldn't bet on that, but I could see it now. So I'm willing to be wrong about the Rays because they just play a clean brand of baseball that might get frustrating at certain points throughout the year when you're not able to slug and just push runs across at will, but they're playing good ball. So that'll be a fun one to monitor because I think some of these I kind of have a feeling on how it will go, and if it goes the other way, you go, but the Rays just, I don't know. I could see it going really any way. The least probable feels like them continuing to do this and being dominant. But I could see it bottoming out. I could see them being average. I could see them being better than I expected and grabbing a wild card spot. The one that would really shock me, like I said, is if they just continued to play like this and won the division. If they won the division, color me shocked for sure. The next one, I kind of skimmed over the Red Sox there. Red Sox were one of my bigger misses this year so far. Of course, there's time to change. I don't think it will. They've already fired half their coaching staff. The one thing I will say, to be fair, is in that original prediction, I did say that I hate the way the Red Sox were run. And as we talked about in our Red Sox synopsis of why I think Breslow should have been fired with or instead of Cora, I don't like the way the Red Sox are run. So that's certainly part of it. But I also thought they were going to be good. So let's not lie to ourselves. I got that wrong. The next one was actually probably the biggest miss. Between the Royals, the Red Sox, and the Padres. Shout out, Nick. Your team is fun, man. I don't know. I don't know about the pitching. I don't know if it lasts. But the other part of this is the Padres are keeping pace with the Dodgers, and Fernando Tatis is awful. Just awful. His swing is discombobulated. If you want to learn about Tatis' swing, Just Baseball put out a podcast today with Paul Hembo. I don't know his full last name, but he goes by Hembo from ESPN. Fantastic podcast. Give it a listen. I can't praise Just Baseball enough. They're fantastic podcast. I will never reach those levels, to be fair. But yeah, they broke down what's wrong with Tatis' swing. I'm not going to word vomit the stuff that they were saying at 70% retention. If you want to hear it, go listen to them. the bullet points are he's getting input from his dad and a first-year hitting coach and other people. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. His body's out of whack. He's not using the ground. His legs aren't involved enough. It's all top half of the body. And then the real problem when you look at the numbers is he's hitting the ball straight into the ground. He's not lifting the ball at all. So if you want the in-depth breakdown, please go listen to that. They just dropped it today on the 13th. But the team's still legit good without Tatis being anywhere near good. He still hasn't hit a homer. I still don't fully believe in the starting staff. They have had some guys show up that I didn't think were going to be that. I mean, Buehler's been a pleasant surprise. I love Walker Buehler, but I couldn't count on him at this point. And then the other little wild card is, A.J. Preller's not going to just sit there and go, well, I think our team's fine. They're going to go in on the trade deadline, and if they're anywhere close to the Dodgers, that's awesome. We'll get to this later. I don't think it stays that way, but the Padres certainly seem like a playoff team and certainly seem much more fun than I thought they would be. So shout out the Padres, shout out Nick Oaks. The other thing in this division I was wrong about, but I don't feel too bad about it, is the Giants. I had them in second in the division. The silver lining for me is that I said that I hated having them in second, but I said everyone in the division I have zero confidence in except for the Dodgers. I said the division was going to suck outside the Dodgers, and for the most part, I was kind of right outside the Padres. So me picking the Giants to be the second team, even though I didn't like them, is the loss here. But the fact that I said I didn't like them to begin with, I don't count it as too big of a loss. I should have given a little more room for the Padres to be better, but I don't see this as like I was high on the Giants. It was just how it ended up ordering out. And also, to be fair, seeing Matt Chapman and Willie Adames and Rafael Devers and Logan Webb playing this badly, I could not have foreseen that, so I'll take this one. I don't feel too bad about it. And then, also very wrong about the Mets. The Mets have been one of the biggest train wrecks in baseball. They're going to have to play absolute hero ball. They're already 12 and a half games back in the division. Now, I know they're in the division with the best team in baseball record-wise, so that is inflated a little bit, but they're 17 and 25, and I thought they were going to be like a legit World Series contender. Yikes. There's always the possibility when you cobble a team together that's all fresh. I mean, who were the holdovers from the Mets last year? It was Juan Soto, Lindor, and then a bunch of ancillary pieces, right? Like your Brett Beatty's and your Ronnie Mauricio's and your Tyrone Taylor's, like Francisco Alvarez, but now he's hurt. When you assemble a team and it's their first year playing together, this has a chance of happening. It can go off the rails, and it has, and I don't think there's any saving it. So I don't know where the Mets go from here, right? They have one of the biggest payrolls in baseball. They could go not full rebuild because they already have the pieces in place of Soto, Lindor, Nolan McLean, and they have a good farm system. So it's not like a full launch rebuild. They could go hard reset and sell all the pieces they can and play for maybe not next year but the year after. I don't know. They're in a weird spot. The next couple months will really determine, I think, how hard they go in selling at the trade deadline. Is David Stern's job in trouble? It's a very interesting situation. I'm very curious to see how this transpires for the rest of the season with these Mets. Staying in the NL East, I was so wrong about the Braves. So wrong might be a stretch. I did say they had a top 5 roster in baseball, and I was scared of the injuries, which, to be fair, if you don't remember, spring training, right before the season was about to start, they just got hit. Injury. And like just key players back to back to back right before the season started. And it's like, I don't know what to do with this team. So to be fair to myself, again, I said they had a top 5 roster, and they're clearly showing that they have some of the best talent in the MLB. But I think I had them in 3rd place, behind the Phillies and the Mets. So that clearly was not the right choice out of those 3 teams. And yeah, that's kind of a big miss. Maybe I need to factor injury less and just kind of roll with how I feel about the rosters, but that can be so tough when it just happened. 3 injuries right before you're going to make predictions. That's what I got wrong about the teams and the standings so far. We'll get into if I think they'll stick at the end. We're going to get into 2 players I missed on in the season predictions because I made predictions for Rookie of the Years, Cy Youngs, and MVPs. The first one, I missed in the AL, except for one. I missed in the AL big time. This is not the Gunnar Henderson MVP year like I thought it would be. He's rocking a 675 OPS. Again, the episode of Just Baseball I shouted out earlier, Gunnar Henderson was another player they broke down of how his struggles have been. He's hitting the ball in the air way too much. His swing decisions have been awful. He's a mental case at the plate right now. He's not swinging at the pitches he should. He's chasing pitches he shouldn't. And he just needs to get out of his head because he's an awesome player when he's just swinging the bat, swinging at good pitches. So that bums me out because I love Gunnar Henderson. And it's too late. He's not going to win MVP. Unfortunate. So, same note, Garrett Crochet has a 6.3 ERA right now. I'm starting to think he's not going to win the AL Cy Young. To his credit, it's tough to pitch on a team when you're in the cellar and your manager just got fired and it feels like there's nothing to pitch for. That's tough. I get it. But he just hasn't been what we saw last year. There was like a little injury scare, but he came back from that. Again, it's not going to happen. In these 2 cases, even if these guys were to springboard back and salvage the season and have a good 3/4 of the year and make the stat page look somewhat pretty by the end of the year, these are not MVP or Cy Young guys for this year. It's too late. So I was wrong about those. I will admit it. A lot of people were wrong about them because I wasn't taking a huge leap with Gunnar Henderson and Garrett Crochet as my MVP and Cy Young. Now let's get a little shine on me. What was I right about? First one, we take our layups, we take our free spaces in bingo. The Dodgers are great, and I told you guys they'd be great. Thank you. If you want advice, I take money. Anyone could have told you that. I think a baby could have told you that. So that's a joke, clearly. But you got to find the wins where you can. So we'll get that one out of the way. The second one is kind of sick because it's all 5 teams in the NL Central. So far, I kind of nailed the NL Central. Now, to be fair, against myself, the Cardinals are playing better than I thought they would, even though I did say they were going to be a young, very fun team to watch, even though I didn't think they had the talent, especially in the rotation. They're playing really well. The whole Central is playing well. It's all above 500, which is crazy. But we're getting a little bit better than I thought from the Cardinals, and we're getting a little bit worse than I thought from the Reds. I'm going to call that a wash and say I kind of nailed this because the Cubs are awesome. They were my NL pick, not my World Series pick, but my NL pick to get to the World Series. And right now they look like the second best team in the NL, third, Atlanta, to be fair. But 7-game series against Atlanta, Cubs can win that. I nailed the Cubs. I was scared about their pitching. Their pitching is even more scary now with the injuries of Cade Horton and Justin Steele. He should be back, but I think this is a team that goes out and gets some rotation pieces at the deadline because the offense and the defense are just perfection. And that's what I said before the season. You got to love it when a plan works out. The next one. I did mention them earlier, and they were part of the reason I had the A's pushed down a spot. But I did question if this was finally the fall off of the Astros' relevance, right? Because you could say the dynasty was over, and it's been over for a year or two, but true playoff and competent relevance, the Astros are done. They might be the biggest players at the deadline now. Like if Yordan Alvarez is in play to be traded for, all of a sudden that phone in Houston is on fire, getting calls from 29 other cities or whatever it is, 26 other cities. I'm very excited to see what this team does at the deadline. I don't think there's any chance they crawl back into this season. The GM and the manager are on the last year of their deals. I could see it getting real spicy in Houston at the end of July, the end of August. When is the trade deadline? Somewhere in there. I was kind of right about it. I asked the question in the first episode, is this truly the end? Because it's been kind of that slow fading, I don't think this is going to work anymore. Is this the true fall off? And we're 40 whatever games in. This is the fall off. I'm willing to call it now. They're done. And again, kind of like not the same situation as the Mets, but we'll see how hard they go. I'm sure if they get the right offer for Yordan, they can 2021 Nats this thing and just get a giant haul and full rebuild. If they want to keep a Yordan, keep a Jeremy Pena, keep a Hunter Brown, they're going to keep Hunter Brown. But if you want to try to extend those guys and do a soft rebuild where you just have to build around those pieces, that could work too. So it'll be very interesting. I'd love it if they bottomed out and they made the trade deadline a true movie. But we'll see. I was right about them, though. I really did think this could be the last year of anything for the Astros. And it is. Kind of like I said earlier, I kind of nailed the dynamic of the Twins and the White Sox. They're only separated by 2 games right now. But I think the Twins are a more talented team, and this is what I said. I think they're a more talented team, but they're in such dysfunction right now. And the White Sox are one of those young teams that's just starting to creep up. The arrow is starting to point north. And that's when a team gets dangerous because they don't have the most talent in the world, but they have a few very talented players like Colson Montgomery and Munetaka Murakami and some of that pitching staff. And that's when a team has nothing to lose and they play loose. And that's what we're seeing. The White Sox are a more fun team to watch than the Twins. And I think they're going to end in 4th place and the Twins are going to end in 5th place. So I was kind of right about that. We'll see if it sticks, but I think I was right about that, and that's fun. Another thing I was right about, and I sound like I'm gloating, this is an exercise for me to mark stuff in my head and go, this was good, this is why it was good, and this is what you need to do in the future to keep it good. And this stuff I was wrong about is more constructive, but we stay positive on this show. So the next 2 are actually AL East things. I was very high on the Yankees and very high on their rotation. Now, bad news today that Max Fried came out with elbow discomfort. That's not great. Even I couldn't envision Cam Schlittler being the Cy Young favorite this far into the season, but he was part of the reason I like their rotation so much. I wish I was a little higher on the Yankees. Maybe over the Mariners if I could redo it right now. Do I pick the Yankees over the Mariners for the World Series? Maybe. Maybe not. I'd have to give that thought. But I was right about the Yankees. I thought they were going to be really good. I said in the notes of episode 1 the rotation was going to be legit, one of the best in the league, and that Judge and Ben Rice were going to carry that offense. And that's what's been happening. The next one, like I said, still in the AL East. Everyone wanted to say they were the second best team in baseball, and I get it because they took the Dodgers to 7 games in the World Series. They're operating at such a high level in the front office and ownership in terms of spending and all that. But I kind of raised the flag. Hey, this Blue Jays team, they got some regression candidates. They're in a very tough division, and the World Series hangover is real. I warned it. And there's still time for them. They're not buried, even though they are on par with the Red Sox right now, which they feel buried. So we'll see. This is a team that can dig themselves out. They're talented enough for sure. Vladdy is another one of those guys that's struggling. He's not hitting the ball the other way enough. I'm sure he's going to fix that. He's one of the best hand-eye coordination guys in the league and just will get out of slumps for the rest of his career. He'll get into them, and then he'll get red hot and be fine. The staff should be fine. But, like I said, there's talent above them in this division. I didn't envision it being the Rays, but they're here now. That's part of the reason I think they can crawl out, because I don't see the Orioles as a markedly better team than them right now, and I don't see the Rays as sticking as a team better than them right now. But I was lower on the Blue Jays, and that has worked out so far in my favor. And I don't know. I feel like I was kind of the only person on that I saw. And the team that takes the Dodgers to 7 and the World Series hangover and I don't know. It felt like it was a little more obvious. I already talked about how I hate how the Red Sox are run. I was right about that. Talked about how I nailed the Cubs. Here's the one player in the AL that we did get right, thankfully. Kevin McGonigal, I picked for Rookie of the Year. Not a bold take. Not going to give myself too much credit here, but he's been fantastic. He's already put up 2.2 WAR a quarter of the way through the season. So what can we project that out as? Math time, 8 point. Whoa. Is that an 8.8? Oh, yo, that's elite. If you watch Kevin McGonigal play, the bat speaks for itself. I mean, he's a bat-to-ball king, and he impacts the baseball, which is literally all you can ask for. That's literally Juan Soto stuff. He's not Juan Soto, but it's of that ilk. And then you look at his body, and you go, okay, you're probably like an average fielding second baseman. He's playing third and short, like legit. He doesn't look the athlete for how good his defense is. So this might be real, people. I mean, this might be MVP candidate type of stuff in a few years. Because he's only 22 years old doing this? I love it. He's doing the name proud. Keep going, Kevin. And actually, the 2 other things I got right. These are the last 2 things of me gloating, and then I'm done, and we can talk about what's going to change moving forward. The NL awards picks. Now I'm going to get one wrong. Okay, I picked Skeens for the Cy Young and the MVP. I'm going to get the MVP wrong, for sure. He's not going to win MVP. A pitcher never does. But like I said in episode 1, it's tough because obviously loving Skeens is the easiest thing in the world. He's the best pitcher on the planet. I needed a way to show that I love him more than you do. And my way of doing that is probably going to be picking him to win MVP every year. You're going to get tired of it. We're going to be talking in 7 years about this is the year, Paul Skeens MVP. And it's not going to happen. But I need to do it for me because I love Paul Skeens more than you. If he keeps throwing the way he has been in the last 4 games where he's taken 2 no-hitters into the 7th inning, maybe he can make a push for MVP. He should win Cy Young again. I mean, stay healthy, and they should just name the award after him. But I think I was on the right track going MVP there. I know it's out there, and I know the reasoning for doing it is a little selfish, but I think he might win one at some point. I know it's not something that really happens anymore. I think this isn't a normal pitcher. This is generational, and we don't need to get into MLB lottery stuff. I'll never forgive them. Should be a Nat. The other one in the NL is another pitcher that I love, even though he plays for a rival. Nolan McLean is must watch. Maybe I should stick to the NL and pitching. I guess those are my two specialities. I was a pitcher, so that makes sense, and I do like an NL team, so that kind of makes sense. But I kind of nailed these NL pitcher picks. Nolan McLean has been awesome. I know I recapped it, but one of the most fun games of the season was a absolute pitcher's duel between he and Yoshi Yamamoto. And every time this guy pitches, I mean, it's 98 at the top of the zone with a fastball, one of the heaviest sinkers in baseball, and then his ability to spin breaking balls is unlike anyone in the game right now and up there all time. I mean, his breaking pitches are disgusting. He looks like he's playing wiffle ball. It's unreal. It's so fun to watch, and he's been great to start this year, which is one of the few bright spots on the Mets, so good for him. Keep shoving. That's really the one concern moving forward for Nolan McLean. If this thing truly bottoms out for the Mets, like I talked about with Crochet, it's hard to stay on that linear path of being great when your team is not doing well as a starting pitcher especially. So that's the one thing we have to look out for, but Nolan McLean's going to be great. I'm done gloating. We're done talking about the things I was right about. What season trends will change moving forward? That's the question. The first thing I have, and these are more guesswork on my part, and these are the things that are going to be plot points for the future. These are going to be things that we look back on halfway through the season, 3/4 of the way through the season, and at the end of the season. Because these are now, I've processed the information of the first half, and what do I see changing moving forward? So these are essentially season predictions from here on out. Because if you do only season predictions at the beginning of the season, you get to the quarter of the way through the season, and like we've talked about in the first half of the show, you're wrong about a bunch of stuff, and you can't change your opinion. So we're going to change our opinion on some things. Here we go. The Phillies, they struggled. They got their manager fired. Even today, they struggled. They've been struggling to score runs, and they have not been anywhere close to an elite team. I think that changes. I could even see them hawking down the Braves for the NL East title. Maybe not. The start the Braves have had being insanely good and the start they had being pretty bad might make it kind of tough to gain that ground. But I think the Phillies enter the postseason looked at as one of the scariest teams in baseball again. That's a shot I'm calling. The Cardinals being this good is something that will change moving forward. Like I said before, I said they'd be fun to watch this year, and I wholeheartedly continue to believe they will be fun to watch for the rest of the year, as they have been the first quarter of the year. With how big of a gauntlet this division is, I think at some point, especially with their starting pitching, I think they start to drop, and you see them clearly separate from the Cubs, the Brewers, the Pirates, right? The Reds have been very cold as of late. Maybe when Hunter Green comes back, they start to separate themselves, and the Cardinals truly are the bottom of the NL Central. But something like that, where they're in 4th place, 5th place, and you start to see the better teams truly separate from St. Louis. Again, going to be fun to watch. They have a lot of young studs. I just think they've been overperforming a quarter of the way through the season. I praised the Padres earlier. Maybe I'm wrong again. I hope I am. I love the Padres. They're so fun to watch. I think the thing that's going to change is the Padres keeping pace with the Dodgers. Again, I'd love to be wrong. I think everyone hates the Dodgers at this point. I respect them. I don't like them. So the Padres winning the division would be awesome. But hear me out, Padres fans. Nick. I think San Diego firmly cements itself as the second best team in the NL West and a top 5 team in the NL. Here are the teams that I have listed before them. The Dodgers are 1 because they're the Dodgers. Listen, Atlanta's been insanely hot. I have the Cubs as a better team long term. So Cubs 2, Braves 3, because you have to give them the respect of this start. If I wanted to get real spicy, I'd flip the Braves and Philly. But the Philly and 4, I think the Padres slot in right there, and they have as good a shot as any of those 5 teams to be the NL representative. I'd feel better about them in the playoffs if they add at the deadline like a good rotation arm. But if there's a Dodgers Padres playoff series, yeah, feed it to me because those have been awesome in the past. There's so much beef there, which is great for baseball. I love it. So yeah, I don't think they push the Dodgers to the brink in the division. Would be awesome, like I said, but I think this is a team that once you get them in the playoffs with that bullpen, hopefully you can get Tatis going, and then they become as dangerous as ever. The other thing that can't continue, the Rays simply cannot be this good. I'm sorry. Like I said earlier, I love their brand of baseball. They're getting on base. They're moving guys over. They're pitching their butts off. I just don't think it can be conducive to this much winning because they're like on pace with the Braves almost. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've just been red hot. I think that stops at some point. You also have the Red Sox and the Blue Jays playing terrible baseball, which I don't think lasts the whole season. I don't know. I can't see the Rays being this good like I talked about. But also like I talked about, I'm so excited to see what they actually are because this isn't it. They're not one of the best teams in baseball. I will die on that hill. But I'm not going to say they're going to bottom out because a team that's 28-14 clearly has the chops to not bottom out. Another thing that is going to change. The Tigers and the Royals are in the cellar of the Central. No, that's not going to happen. If you guys didn't hear, Tarek Skubal, the loose bodies in his elbow, apparently it's only one, so they can do this special new arthroscopic surgery that Scott Boras, of course, has coined the Skubal scope. And he's going to be back sooner than people think. I think what was it, a month or 2 when it was originally like 2 or 3, something like that. 6 weeks was possibly what it was. I forget. But he's going to be back quick. The Tigers are going to roll, even though Framber's a loser. We'll get to that in a second. And then the Royals. They've been heating up a little bit as of recently. Bobby Witt had to get going. He's going now. The Royals are too good. I like them too much. Maybe I'm blinded by the Royals. Maybe they're like a third-place team. But I think the Tigers and the Royals, who are right now in 4th and 5th, I think they both finish top 3. That's my somewhat bold, somewhat not really bold prediction for the AL Central. The last one that I don't think is going to be sustained is the first-place A's. I think it's a little more open than we thought it would be. Obviously, the Mariners aren't playing as well. The Rangers are kind of this floating team where, like, okay, if it clicks for certain guys, like Mackenzie Gore's been awful. That trade looks awesome for the Nationals. They have some prospects balling out from that trade. Go look up Devin Fitzgerald and what he's doing to Double-A teams right now. Just demolishing baseballs. We got sidetracked. The Rangers are kind of floating. The Mariners aren't doing what we think they were going to do. The Astros probably bottom out. So the path is there for the A's to be in first place. I'm not going to say it's a bold prediction. I don't think anyone has the A's winning the division still, but I still see them in third place clearly behind Texas and Seattle. I don't see the A's sustaining this with that pitching staff. The only way that changes is if they're young pitching prospects in Jamie Arnold, Braden Net. Oh, no. Gage Jump. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up prospects. Gage Jump and Jamie Arnold. If they boom and they're ready to go and they get called up for a run late in the season, I could get excited. Pair them with Luis Severino. If he could look good, okay, let's talk first place A's. I think the Mariners will be back by then and will reclaim that spot. I think the Mariners are too good of a roster, too good of a pitching staff, too good of a bullpen. They're just such a good roster. There's a reason I picked them to win the World Series. All right. I don't believe we talked about this, right? Hold on. Let me double check that we didn't talk about this. Did I talk about the fact that Framber Valdez is a complete loser? No, I didn't. You might be wondering, Kevin, why would you say such a mean thing? If you didn't know, Framber Valdez, who signed a 3-year deal with the Tigers in the offseason, it was either 2 or 3. It was a short option latent deal that was paying him more than people thought. The reason it was paying him more than people thought is because he went to the winter meetings in December with a PowerPoint on why he's a good person and a good teammate. What? Why would he do that? Because last season, when he was on the Astros, he purposely crossed up his catcher and drilled his catcher because he didn't like what his catcher was doing. What? Okay. You made a mistake. You made a presentation on why you're a good guy. We'll sign you to a bunch of money. You'll be the number 2 behind Skubal. Oh, no. Skubal's injured. We need you to step up. We need you to be the rock. We need you to be the horse. We need you to be the guy in the rotation. What does he respond by doing? The first game after Skubal's out with an injury, he gets rocked by the Red Sox. He gives up 10 runs in 4 innings. Now, at some point in this game, when he was giving up 10 runs, the Red Sox were legally, may I remind you, let me say that again, legally getting his signs at second base. It's a very common thing in baseball right now. Instead of getting a lead, the runner on second base peeks in, finds the grip of the glove, sees a little adjustment of what he's looking for to know whether it's off speed, changeup, fastball, whatever. There's all these little tips, and everyone's looking at an iPad trying to figure out what the tips are. The Red Sox legally were relaying signs from second base. Now again, Framber was with the Astros. Not in 2019, he wasn't there yet, but he was with the team that was actually cheating. He takes this and goes, oh, I'm giving up 10 runs because you guys are cheating. First of all, not cheating. Second of all, that's not why they scored 10 runs. They scored 10 runs because you suck. And he drills Trevor Story in the back. Now, if you needed any confirmation on if this was intentional, 1, Framber Valdez throws only sinkers. He's thrown 2 four-seam fastballs over the last 2 years, and they've both been straight into the batter's backs. Evidence number 1, boom. Evidence number 2, he is known to be a crybaby and gave up 10 runs in 4 innings. Seems like the time he would hit someone. Bang, number 2. Number 3, he got served a 6-game suspension and didn't appeal. Boom, 3 strikes. You're out. Framber Valdez is a loser. If you're listening to this, you're not a loser. Baseball rocks. We'll be back probably Friday night or Saturday afternoon, breaking down the top half of the first round of draft prospects. I'm so excited. I purposely kind of just check in on draft prospects. I don't dive too deep until we get kind of close, because if I get too excited too early, it kind of just ruins me and I obsess over it. So this is really the time, the last 2 months or so, where I'm going to crunch and just dive into these prospects. I hope I can make it fun for you guys. I know the draft, as I talked about in Saturday's video, is harder to get into compared to the other drafts, compared to live MLB baseball, right? It's harder to get into, and I get it. But I hope my enjoyment of it can maybe suck you guys in a little bit, make you care about the draft a little bit. But this week is when we really start to dive and we really start to watch players, watch video, look at any little piece of info we can about them. And I'm going to try to translate that to a nice rankings, breakdowns of guys, mock drafts where I can talk about team to player fits and strategies on where it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait. So that'll be either Friday or Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go baseball. I'll see you later.